Believe it or not, this is being recorded through a $200 webcam. A webcam. This is the new YoloLiv YoloCam S3. It is a webcam, but it's a really good one. Let's see how good it is. I'm gonna pop this up on its fancy little magnetic mount just on top of my monitor here and plug that in over USB. Just a simple little connection to the back, magnetically mounted. And let's see what kind of settings we have. Focus can be autofocus continuous, single, or face detection. It's a little bit wide for the use that I'm doing now, but it is a 4K camera, so I should be able to zoom in very nicely here. Ooh, too close. Back up a little bit. We definitely need to adjust the white balance, so let's go manual. And there we have it. That's a pretty good webcam. All right, let's dive into all the details on this thing. And I want to start by redefining what a webcam is. We typically think of a webcam as either the camera built into a laptop screen like over here, or those old USB webcams that you just plug in and attach to the top of your monitor. But all those are really good for is a Zoom call or FaceTime call, right? I mean, you wouldn't use them for an actual live stream. The thing is that the quality of the YoloCam S3 is so much better that it challenges the traditional idea of what a webcam even is and really makes this feel like an ultra-compact, high-quality streaming camera. Of course, you could use this for your Zoom meetings, but it's good enough that it can be used for live streaming and not feel like you're just using some cheap webcam. It's got a huge sensor for a webcam, a 1/1.3-inch CMOS sensor, one of the biggest in the industry, with actual phase detect autofocus and face detection. It's 4K, which obviously you don't need for a Zoom call, but that means you can crop or digitally zoom to get closer without losing any quality. The video feed is uncompressed over USB with virtually no lag. The camera is designed to never overheat, made with an all-metal body with the 24/7 live streaming market in mind. Looking at the camera itself, you can see that it's pretty small. There's a nice big lens and a tiny little body on it. The camera just has one port on it, a USB port on the back, and on both the bottom and the sides of this, you'll see a little magnetic symbol indicating where this can attach to the stand. This is the stand. It is included with it. It is a little pop-up stand that is first designed to slip over the edge of your monitor like so, and then tilt up so you can get the camera into position however you like. And it also has a 1/4-20 port on the bottom, so you can mount this onto a tripod or what have you. With the magnetic mount, all you have to do is slap this on, and it mounts on like so. And like I said, it can also go vertically. The stand is also designed to be used as a tabletop stand if you want to, like that. Now, if you do want to put it on a tripod, again, the stand has a 1/4-20 port. You can put it on any tripod, but you can also purchase this tripod set from YoloLiv. This is essentially just a tabletop tripod, so nice and low profile, but it comes with a long extendable stand here. So instead of having big, huge legs leading up to a tiny little camera, you can have little legs at the bottom and then a rod leading up to your camera on top. So let's go ahead and put this thing together, and we'll attach the camera, plug it into USB, and let's have a look at the software for this, because the software is what really makes this camera shine. Let's look. This is the YoloLiv Compose app, and with this app, you have total control over the camera, including some pretty advanced color grading. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will notice that this is not a Mac. The YoloLiv Compose app does run on Mac OS. However, there's a particular feature that I want to show you that's currently Windows only. That said, you don't even need the app to use the camera. It'll just work on any computer, but the app gives you some really cool tools. So let's check all that out. Looking at the settings on the side here, first thing you'll notice is that under graphic settings, you have a 16:9 or 9:16 layout. So if you are going to shoot this vertically, you can rotate that in software here, and then simply physically rotate the camera on its magnetic mount. And there you go. We're in vertical mode. You can also change the frequency. I'm in Europe, so I'm going to do a 25 Hertz layout, which is going to give me the right frame rate for matching with any other 25p cameras. Under image settings, you have sharpness, contrast, saturation adjustments. You'll see that I've tweaked them just a little bit to get the image the way that I want it. And then under there, you'll find focus. 3 modes: autofocus continuous, single, and face detection. But we can see already that the face detection is doing a really good job of following my face around. But it's not just about following your face. It actually has a really good, fast autofocus. Watch. Let's do a little test here. So now we're looking at the raw footage from the camera itself. So we're seeing that full screen. You can really get an appreciation for the quality of the image here, and you can see just how quick the autofocus is. Just your classic hold something up there test. But of course, as I move around, We see that focus following my face beautifully, pop that back up, and away we go. So autofocus works great on this camera. If you leave it in face detection, of course, if you're going to hold something up in front of the camera, you'll want to block your face, that classic face detection override, if you will. And if you leave it in continuous autofocus, then it will just grab whatever is closest within the autofocus box. Then you have zoom. Because this is a 4K camera, we have the ability to crop in quite a bit if you're just using an HD output. Even if you're using a 4K output, you can still crop a bit and probably not really notice any quality drop. But let's take a look. From the range slider here, I've got my wide to telephoto. If I hit the T, it's going to go all the way into the closest setting. And you can see that's really close. That's close. Probably don't need to be that close. Let's back off a little bit here. Back to the wide, and of course you can just click and drag on the slider there, and you'll see that you get a number giving you an idea of what focal length you're at in there. Now a very cool thing you have in here are hotkeys to trigger zoom levels. Watch this. If I go into settings, and then under hotkeys, you'll see that I have a variety of zoom levels that are currently set to the number pad on your keyboard. You can reprogram these to whatever you like. You can't do a key combination, so you couldn't do like, Control R or something. It has to be a single key. By default, it's set to the number pad, and this laptop actually has a number pad on it. If you don't have that, then you can reset it to any keys you're not using, probably function keys like FN1, 2, and so on. So from here, it's already set to the number pads. Obviously, to change it, I just grab that slider and put it wherever I want in there. It gives me a preview of what that one will look like. But then to trigger it, all I got to do is hit the number on the number pad. So there's position 1, there's position 3, back to position 2, back to 1, and so on. Now for this to work, the app does need to be running in the background, so you can just turn off the camera view by going to here, allowing another app to take over the camera itself, but then just leave this in the background, and then you can still trigger the keyboard shortcuts. Back to the editing app, you have your exposure and white balance controls, auto or manual exposure. If you're doing a live stream, you probably want to set it into manual, dial in the exposure exactly as you want it, and then just lock that into place. Same thing with white balance, and there is a cool white balance lock tool in here that I want to show you. So if I go down to white balance, you'll see it's on auto and it's currently locked. If I unlock this, well, yeah, we see it shift a little bit. It gets a little bit too warm because of the background colors, whatever. The camera just thinks it's warmer than it really is. So, or cooler, and it's compensating for that. So to make this look right, I can, of course, go in here and start playing with the sliders and try and find exactly what's right with the offset here. Or I can go full manual and dial that into whatever I want. But the easiest way is to grab a known white source. Now, I do have a color checker white card here, but you can use a white piece of paper for this. It'll work almost as well. And what I'm going to do is I want to fill the frames. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. We'll just zoom in. I'm going to fill the frame with the white card. Give it a moment to balance. Just give it a few seconds here. Make sure it's good and solid. And then I'll tap on the lock button. And it has now locked the white balance at that setting. And you can see here that looks pretty darn good. So I think that's a really good solid white balance in there, and it's a nice easy way to achieve that. And that's effectively it for your basic setup. But then we get into the advanced color correction. And this is something that is currently only available on Windows, but this is pretty slick. Watch. I'm going to go over here to the color tab, and there's two different versions of this. There's the fast and the professional. Now this doesn't work on live video. It does require a still image, so it's going to capture an image. That was obviously horrible, so I'm just going to stare at the camera for a moment, hit the capture image button, and get a much better shot to work with. So now I want to do my color correction. With the fast mode, all I do to start is click to sample any color. So let's just say I'm not too happy with my skin tones. I'll grab that here, and then I can take this a little bit more towards green or a little bit more towards red and just really shift the colors of that scene in there. Now, the skin tones were already pretty good, so I think I'll leave those, but maybe I want to shift the blue of my shirt. Let's click on the blue and pull that towards a kind of a richer, more saturated blue, or maybe I want to push that a little bit more towards aqua. And once I do that, if I go back to the main video feed, we'll see that video color has been shifted. You can clearly see the effect on the blue shirt and the skin, which I didn't totally reset. So now it's gone a little bit funky and green. Let's go back into the color tab and now go into the professional one. Now this is where you get a lot of control. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to professional. That will reset everything that I just did. And let's do a full reset. We'll go to the original grid in here. This is extremely cool. This is known as a color warping tool, and a color warping tool gives you a lot of control over the colors in the image. Let's once again do the shirt. So I'll click on the shirt there. It has grabbed this point on the color warper, And now as I click and drag that out towards more saturated, we can see this shirt has gotten brighter and a little bit more saturated. Let's pull it more towards the blue, grab that control point and drag it out, and it gets a little bit richer. It's the same idea of what we had before, but just with a lot more control. Let's go for this kind of purpley red background. I'll sample that. That has grabbed this part of the color warp tool here, and let's just make that a little bit warmer. So I'll drag that all the way over here to warm. And you can see how that very gently has warmed that up a little bit. If I want to do before and after, I can press and hold on this long press button, and that does a reset on there. These are subtle changes, but they're the kind of changes that you make to make your image look just perfect. You don't want to do a complete and total color shift. That'd be weird. But just to take it to that final level, make it just right, this is pretty great. And of course, from here, you have manual controls over their sliders as well. You can save presets and so on. So that is everything that I wanted to show you in the software. Now let's take a look at some real world examples. We're going to head out in the field and see how this looks in real use cases, out in the sun, in the shade, and we're going to go have a coffee and see how it looks in the cafe. That looks pretty good for a webcam. From what I can tell, of course, I'm sitting here in full sun staring at my screen. Can barely see it, but it does look good from here. I mean, not too shabby. That's all right. Looking good there. All right, I think that's looking okay. There's our video, looking pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty good webcam right there. It's pretty good coffee too. Hashtag not sponsored. Now I did tell you that you could use this camera for live streaming, and I want to show you how to do that with the YoloLiv YoloBox Extreme. I've got my camera set up here. I'll just take that USB cable and plug it into one of the USB ports on the box, and that's basically all you got to do. Enter the monitor mode, and we'll see that camera come up. And just like that, you now have that camera ready for live streaming. Now, the particular crop and color balance that's on there, I actually set in the computer. So once you've set it, that information is stored in the camera, so then you can use it for the live stream. Now, currently you can't change the adjustments of the color or change the crop within the box itself, but that's the kind of thing that we think is coming soon. It actually keeps all of the settings that we program in the software stored inside of the camera itself. So if you want to change the crop or the color, at this moment, you're going to have to plug it into the computer to do that. But then when you plug that camera back into the YoloBox, all those settings are still there. So that's the YoloLiv YoloCam S3. So much more than a webcam, a tiny little live streaming camera that for the price is pretty darn awesome. I think that this will replace any webcam you currently have on your desk. And if you're using a big mirrorless camera on your desk like I am, then you might be tempted to swap this out. I'm actually thinking that I'm going to do that. I'll get rid of the BGH1 that's there now because it's total overkill as a webcam and drop this in place instead. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that.